Why couldn't Xbox close this deal? Sony has some crazy claims about Xbox. This studio is getting hit with major layoffs. Xbox gets a little weird. Sound? I'll make sure it's tracking. Better? Okay. Let's discuss.
Xbox Ready.
What's up, guys, and welcome to Xbox Ready, my YouTube channel that's dedicated to all things Xbox. I talk Xbox news, rumors, I do mini game reviews, I bring guests on, I give tips and tricks, I do tutorials. So if any of that seems appealing to you, whether you're an old, veteran fan of Xbox or you're new to the Xbox ecosystem, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. First up, let's talk about Sony. They recently made some very interesting claims about the different brand momentum that other platform holders have. And through this very foolproof graph, the system that I guess they are the ones that came up with, it says that Sony, PlayStation 5, they have the strongest gaming brand momentum in the industry right now, followed by Nintendo, and then followed way behind by Xbox. Sony says that the figures on this graph are taken from the Sony Interactive Entertainment Global Brand Tracker of Brand Momentum, with the percentage of respondents indicating the general momentum of the brand. On the graph, it shows that they peaked in 2020 with the launch of the PS5, but remained steady as the years have gone on. But this whole graph, where is this data coming from, and what is it based on? You look at the bottom left of this graph, and it's like I just said, all it says is percentage of respondents indicating the general momentum of the brand. Who are these respondents? Who are they reaching out to? It kind of seems like Sony is just patting themselves on the back. It's like that meme of Obama giving himself a medal. Now, I'm not disputing the fact that PlayStation 5 has a lot going on for itself right now, and PlayStation 5 consumers are generally pretty happy with what they are putting out. Compare that to Xbox, and it's like, oh, these past couple of months have been rough. All of 2020 was a little rough. So yes, I would agree that Sony PlayStation 5 is in a better place right now than Xbox, but the way that they got to it, it's this doesn't make any sense. And yes, I get you can make the argument that the Nintendo Switch doesn't have as much momentum as the PlayStation 5 right now because it's older. It's 6 years old. But in terms of sales and numbers, the Switch was kicking PlayStation's up until very recently. So the fact that they're yeah, we're ahead of Nintendo too is what's going on, guys? But while we're on the topic of brand momentum, what can Xbox do to possibly turn that around and get themselves back into the conversation again? And while there is no perfect answer, I think the next 6 months are critical for Xbox, the second half of 2023. Starting with the summer showcase on June 11th, they could really set the tone for an awesome comeback. Shift the conversation away from, okay, Redfall had terrible reviews, to look at all this exciting stuff we have coming out in the future. A lot of people are saying that Starfield is make or break for Xbox. I'm pretty confident that Starfield is going to be a good game. Is it going to be great? Is it going to be, the next genre-defining masterpiece? I'm not sure, but I think it has the potential to be an 8 out of 10, which may not be the sexiest prediction, but it needs to be at least a pretty good to good game. Because even if Starfield comes out and it flops, everyone hates it, kind of like Redfall, Xbox Game Studios is still going to keep working. They're not just going to be okay, entire gaming division, we're selling it off to Amazon or something crazy like that. It really is just, it's Xbox is missing that one thing. I love the features that they have in this ecosystem right now on my Series X. They just have to back it up with a cool gaming catalog that they can use to support Game Pass. And maybe then, if they start consistently turning out 8 of 10s, 9 of 10s, 7 of 10s, not 5 or 4 of 10s like Redfall was getting, maybe they can turn the public opinion around, get that brand momentum back, whatever the hell that means, that Sony was referencing. And Xbox could potentially have a really great fall between Starfield. There's whispers that Hellblade 2 is likely to come out in the second half of 2023, and Forza Motorsport, which I know a lot of you guys are looking forward to, it's looking more and more like it's going to be releasing in the fall. As we've discussed on the channel before, Mr. Matty Plays predicted that it was going to be released in October. And now it's looking like Motorsport's cover art was just featured in an email that was sent out to Game Pass subscribers, and it was in like the coming soon section of the newsletter. Now, this could be a mistake, an accident, I don't know. But if you're featuring a game in the coming soon portion of your newsletter to your fan base, that pretty much just locks it in that it's going to be coming out in the next couple of months, right? Or I guess October is what, 5 months away? There's a lot of speculation on like what kind of cars are in this cover art. I am totally useless in those conversations because, as I've shared on the channel before, I'm not a car guy, I'm not a racing game guy. I'll probably check out Motorsport when it comes out, but like that is just not my lane. It's just not my thing, guys. But even if it's not my thing, I know it's a lot of your guys' thing. And again, if they ship out Starfield, if they ship out Hellblade 2, and if they ship out Motorsport over the next half of 2023, even if they're not all knockouts, masterpieces, whatever, if they're just pretty good games, it could be a huge turnaround for Xbox. Next up, let's talk about Xbox's weird move in regards to these new niche categories on Game Pass. So as you probably know at this point, Xbox Game Pass, so when you're browsing through the catalog, sometimes they have different collections of games, like, oh, epic fantasy games, or like, oh, games that'll get your heart pounding. It's something that we see on a lot of subscription services. You see it a lot on like Netflix and HBO. They're like, here's a collection of critically acclaimed movies. Here's a collection about like irreverent, crazy comedies. Xbox decided to take that stuff a little bit further with a new initiative called Find Your Niche. And with this new initiative, they now have 3 new categories in the Game Pass app. These new categories are We Demand to See Your Legs, Wild Weapons, and Cute and Chaotic. Now, first of all, hold on. We got to go back a little bit, circle back a little bit to that first one. We Demand to See Your Legs was something that I was like, wait, what is that? But luckily, they have a trailer that helps explain exactly what you will get in that category, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It'll serve you up games where you can see your character's legs. The little trailer that they have to demonstrate this is like, there's an increasing trend in video games where it's like you look down, you got no legs. In these games, in this niche, you can look down and see your character's legs, like Master Chief's legs. I thought I saw Chivalry 2, like kicking the person off of like a castle or something, but yeah, it's literally a category which will serve you up games where you can see your character's legs. Wild Weapons is a little bit more like, I guess it's a little bit more straightforward than We Demand to See Your Legs. Those are just games where you use like crazy looking weapons. They show off Yakuza where you like hit someone with a cake. I would say Chivalry 2 again falls in that category as well. It's like you could beat someone up with a fish in that game. But also, of course, games like Sunset Overdrive, The Gunk maybe, Gears of War, the Lancer is a pretty wild weapon, I would say. And then that last category, Cute and Chaotic, is supposed to show the duality of humankind. They show off Persona 5, where it's like, oh, I'm just like this cute little anime schoolboy, and then all of a sudden, no, I'm a demon, I'm summoning my persona, let's go Arsene. Now, this kind of came out of nowhere a little bit, this whole Find Your Niche initiative. But hear me out, guys, hear me out. It kind of like, I'm kind of digging it, you know? I may not use like the, specific niches that they've laid out for me, but when you watch the trailer showcasing each of these categories, I'm like, I kind of like the direction of whatever marketing team is behind this. It's like they're kind of turning their games into a meme. It's like kind of funny. It's kind of like, what's going on? Like I'm watching Adult Swim back in the like mid 2000s, and I was like, whoa, that was like random but intriguing. And it got me wanting to play some of the games that they were showing off. I was like, okay, I didn't know you could do that in Yakuza. Maybe I will finally get into that franchise. I was just talking about this in a past video where it's like, how do they make their stuff interesting? How can they market to their player base, Xbox consumers, and make the games that are on Game Pass look cool and look like people will want to actually try them out? I don't know if this achieves that for everyone, but it definitely achieved it for me, and I'd like to see them do kind of wackier stuff like this in the future. This next story is a bit of a bummer. Relic Entertainment, co-studio that works on Age of Empires, recently shared on their Twitter that their studio underwent some pretty nasty layoffs. In their statement, they shared that it was a very incredibly difficult decision to make, but 121 employees were let go. Stories like these are incredibly tough to hear, and it seems like they're becoming increasingly more common, not just in the video game industry, but in tech in general. We see layoffs at Google, Microsoft. This is also really weird timing too, because Relic is set to release Company of Heroes 3, which is, it's supposed to be coming out like as soon as next week. And I don't know if they were like, okay, we're done shipping that game, let's go ahead and downsize. We don't need the full development team, so we're just gonna like have a smaller team that works on supporting, Age of Empires and Company of Heroes 3. But then I go ahead and read the statement again, and they mention that they're making these layoffs as part of a response to ever-changing external factors that are going on in the industry right now. I don't know if that's referring to like, okay, maybe RTS games aren't as poppin' as they used to be back in the day. I know RTS games, they're something that I really enjoy. It's a genre that I really love, but every time I talk about it, I feel like someone in the comments is like, yo, Age of Empires is boring. Yo, that game is boring. Stop talking about those games. So I'm like, okay, maybe the demand for RTS games is just not there anymore. But I swear Phil Spencer was just talking about like one of the most in-demand games that they have going on right now. The game that, commands a lot of player engagement is Age of Empires 4, or the Age of Empires franchise. So I have a lot of questions about these layoffs, not sure if we're gonna get any answers to them. But overall, I just feel bad, man. I know people who work in development. I have a friend of mine who works in development that is about to have a kid. So the idea of him losing his job with a family to frickin' support is just devastating. But they did mention that in this statement that Sega was going to do everything they can in their power to make sure that these 121 employees were going to land on their feet and overall just have success after they leave Relic Entertainment. Let's talk about Final Fantasy XVI. Now, I am a longtime fan of the Final Fantasy franchise, so I may be a little biased, but Final Fantasy XVI, from everything that we've seen from the trailers and the state of play that they just did a couple of months ago, it looks really, really cool, and it's just around the corner. I'm really excited for it. But you know what's not cool? The fact that it's not coming to Xbox consoles. Now, to be fair, every time I've played a Final Fantasy game, it's been on a PlayStation. But I know a lot of fans, I know a lot of you out there are hungry for the latest Final Fantasy games. And yes, I know it's not a full PlayStation exclusive, it is just timed for 6 months. Xbox fans have not had the best luck when it comes to Square Enix games. Final Fantasy VII Remake, still a no-show. Octopath Traveler 2, not on Xbox. And 6 months after Final Fantasy XVI launches, I assume it's going to come to Windows, it's going to come to PC, but I doubt that it's going to make its way over to Xbox consoles. And now, thanks to a recent statement from the Final Fantasy XVI producer, we may have a little bit of insight onto why that is. He said, Final Fantasy, being one of Square Enix's very important franchises, up there with Dragon Quest and the Kingdom Hearts series, when we do begin development, we approach multiple platforms, multiple companies about releasing the game. And when you approach them, they're going to come back to us with their offers. He goes on to say that it is implied that the deal that they got from PlayStation is above and beyond what other companies and other platform holders offered them. First of all, this whole situation feels a little bit weird. I don't know if this is usually how it's done with third-party companies, but I thought the platform holders went to them and they were like, yo, can we strike up a deal? Let's talk exclusivity, let's talk time stuff. I wasn't aware that third-party publishers went to platform holders and were like, okay, what are you gonna give us? What can we kind of do to help each other out? Again, there are a lot of things in the video game industry that I am not privy to, but that whole process seems a little bit weird to me. Square approaching companies and saying, okay, what do you got for us? Rather than it being the other way around. Now, there are a couple of ways of looking at this, okay? Oh, Sony is going and money-hatting yet another third-party title, trying to keep it off Xbox. But if Square really did approach Microsoft and say, okay, what do you got for us? What kind of deal can we work out? And they just couldn't come to a resolution, then that seems maybe a little more fair. But I just find it so hard to believe that Xbox, who is often depicted as like this kid with a super rich dad that can just write checks to get anything that they want, couldn't make an appealing enough offer to Square to get Final Fantasy XVI on Xbox consoles. It is just a weird situation. Yes, I know that Square has a very long history with Sony, with PlayStation. In fact, a lot of their major titles, Kingdom Hearts, Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, I associate with playing them on a PlayStation. But this whole back and forth on like, okay, sometimes we get Square games and then sometimes we don't. Like over here on Xbox, we got Octopath Traveler 1. It was on Game Pass for forever, but Octopath Traveler 2, sorry, you're either gonna have to buy a Switch or a PlayStation if you want to play that game. And again, it's very disappointing if you have just an Xbox console that you may not ever get the chance to play this game. It's like, oh, sorry, you want to play this game? Either spend $400 to $500 on a PlayStation 5 or go and build your own PC, get a gaming laptop. It's at this point, it's like, okay, you know, if PlayStation wants to go and buy Square and make it a first-party studio, at least we can just put to rest all of this back and forth of like, is Final Fantasy coming to Xbox? Is Octopath Traveler coming to Xbox? What's going on? I'm tired of it.